Me personally, I don't like it.
Okay, so you can say like you don't like it,
but to me,
what you can't say
is no. Yes, I can.
You can't say it's the same thing.
Yes, I can because it's still rooted in the same thing.
It's not rooted in the same thing.
You could make the same argument from nigga and nigger.
It's not how. Hey! What's up? We are back. Go for it.
I always miss that. Like I never hear it until you say it.
Come on, man. Black people getting us hype. What's up, y'all? We're back. This week in White Supremacy. My name is Jasiri X. I'm co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. And as always, to my right.
It's a miracle.
Oh, you was quick with it today.
I know you be practicing. It's your girl, Miracle, aka Big Blessing. The Big Blessings here on a Tuesday.
Should we say that? I mean, we're
Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
And you repping Netroots. You got your Netroots shirt.
Let's go.
Yes.
I didn't even know they had t-shirts there.
They didn't give you one when you registered?
No.
Oh wow.
He didn't go to the town square registration table to pick it up.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I missed that completely.
And you did a workshop about joy there. Farouk was on it.
It was a phenomenal panel. Like Miracle had great questions lined. What?
Whenever you say it was a phenomenal panel.
Always sound so shocked.
Nigger barbecue. Nigger League Museum and barbecue.
We had a phenomenal weekend. We went to the Nigger League Museum, had some barbecue.
Had some Chicago pizza.
We did, man. That I ended up paying for, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
My brother.
It's your boy, Trouble in the Last. Niggas love sleep. Never like supremacy. You know what I'm saying?
And you were celebrating your birthday?
Yes,
this
I
weekend.
was.
You had a good time?
I had a great time.
All right.
I slept most of it, but
okay, there's nothing wrong with getting rest, man.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm in my little vacay suit today.
Okay,
you know
I got that.
Going to Sandcastle afterwards.
Oh, dope. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
The birthday week is continuing.
The birthday week continues.
And
And
it's supposed to rain today?
Unfortunately.
a little bit though, only for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And sir?
Yeah, man. Salted anchovies induce diarrhea.
Whoa.
What is wrong? You know what?
That was in my head. I just want to hear how it sounded out loud.
Salted? Is that what you
Sometimes
had on
the
your pizza?
voices in his head win. All the time.
It just popped up, and I was like, I wonder how this sounds out loud.
It
Like,
sounded as bad as it.
So you decided to say it live.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
Okay then.
thank you for letting us know who you are.
Yes, thank you. I guess if we have to edit at any time so you can run to the restroom.
Nah, I don't eat anchovies, but my mom did, man. My mom used to eat, so pre this, my mom used to eat a tin of like black olives and a tin of anchovies with mustard on there.
Yeah, that does
or
not
sardines.
sound
Disgusting.
That sounds
putrid.
Yes.
She used to go to town.
But, Farouk, if you do have to use the restroom, you can, because we have a welcoming work environment. You know what I'm saying?
That's not targeted by diversity.
We would be the org that would get like sued by somebody white. Like,
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
They didn't get the job.
We have.
We do.
We have a diverse staff.
We have a diverse staff.
We have a very culturally diverse staff. We have
do.
a multicultural staff.
Yes.
We have
multi-political staff.
absolutely.
We do have non-people of.
Well, let's not get into that.
Yeah, wait. Pump your brakes. We have
Because the
a
reason
litany of things to discuss.
Yes. And we wanted to start with the fact that all of America is on strike right now. Like
As they should be.
Up-
Strike in solidarity.
Should we?
What are we
Should
striking?
we, Miracle?
Who are we striking against? Ourselves or like the philanthropy?
We should just be out there.
Would we still be getting paid though if we strike, Miracle? Who are we striking against?
In solidarity.
In solidarity. So for those that don't know, the writers are on strike. They were on strike. So the writers were first. They went on strike. In fact, I remember being in Philadelphia and joining one of the writers' picket lines. And then the actors just went on strike. And I guess that was a lot. What the hell was that?
I'm just, we lodging them up.
Oh, we lodging them up. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the actors, I think the first time the actors and writers have been on strike at the same time.
Yeah.
This is maybe like the 60s. This is the first time the actors went on strike since the 80s. And UPS may go on strike.
Oh, shit.
Wait, UPS or USPS?
UPS.
UPS.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Damn.
And the USPS.
Really? Together?
Yes.
So we got to rely on FedEx and LaserShip. God help us all.
Everybody.
Yeah, they all might be gone.
You know,
You might be running that package down the street, my nigga.
When we driving to see your friends.
running that package. What? How does that?
He's 5. He's 12.
You know what a package is.
Oh, Siri, you're making it worse. Siri, you're just making it worse. Because we are in a time of global warming. It is very hot outside.
Yes.
These employers are not giving people water. They're not making sure the vans.
And DeSantis just passed that, right?
Florida and Texas.
Texas,
yeah.
Florida and Texas, you don't have to give your workers water. You don't have to give your workers breaks. And some of these temperatures are hitting 90 degrees and above. And people are literally in prisons, outside, and these factories are getting heat stroke and are passing away. As well. And so people are going on strike just because in 2023 we don't have air conditioning.
Right. And to think about it, I mean, you know, just like you said, UPS, the post office, they're out. They have to be outside.
Right,
they have to be
rain,
outside.
hail, sleet, snow.
They have to be in the heat. And, you know, sometimes if you have just a regular job, you're not thinking about that. They said a 10-day strike, if the UPS went on strike for 10 days, it would cost the economy more than $7 billion.
I can believe that. Yeah.
You know, when they had the issues coming out about the actors, because a lot of times I think when we think of actors, we think of obviously we think
like
of
the 1% of actors.
Yeah, we think of like The Rock and, you know,
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, these
Brad
actors
Pitt,
making. But they said that to qualify for health insurance, you have to make $26,000 to qualify for health insurance under the SAG union. 87% of actors do not qualify for health insurance.
Oh, shit.
87% of actors are not making $26,000 a year.
Damn.
So one of the guys that have been outspoken on this is the guy who wrote the TV show The Bear on Amazon. I think his name is Alex O'Keefe. He was saying he got an award for like best show, that when he went there, he literally had like a negative bank account. So while he's winning an award for the best new show on television, he didn't have any money in his pocket.
Here's this. So if you're in SAG, right, if you're in the Screen Actors Guild, your initial fee just to get in there is $3,000, and you have to pay $230 a month in dues. So if you're already not making money or waiting on royalties or residuals, you're still losing money every month just to be an active member.
Absolutely.
So to make $26,000, and that's $26,000 annually you have to make, right?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So I mean, think about it.
And this is why and I don't know why it's still an issue for people to have free healthcare.
Because healthcare is commodified in this country.
I mean, I know, but it's just madness to me.
Billions of dollars. But think about it. Think about, and I'm going to come to you, Miracle. Think about the pandemic, right? What got us through the pandemic? What got us through the pandemic was
home delivery for groceries.
Home deliveries, right? And like binge watching TV shows, right? Like TV shows, like writing, acting, and
TikTok.
Going on Amazon or wherever you, and then getting a package delivered to you. Now, I'm lost, brother. Like, so like if you, I'm going to ignore him.
You can say parcel.
I'm going to ignore him.
A parcel.
A parcel. All right.
The items you ordered are delivered to you.
There you go.
So Miracle, what is your take on?
So I was reading about, I don't know if y'all remember, like last year, Squid Games was one of the largest.
I still never finished that
Netflix series ever.
Right.
Literally made Netflix millions of dollars.
Millions, they said.
The writer and the producer of that didn't get any of that money.
None of it.
And it was shot against like a really small budget, right?
Basically,
it was like a shoestring budget.
What the streaming services like Netflix are doing are paying you your standard salary. And making the show, you get none of the royalties, even though it's original content. You don't get any of that money. And so while Netflix is this multi-billion-dollar company, the model that they make is the money that they make only goes to pay the Netflix staff and their CEOs and to produce more content. And so the writers, the producers, the actors are getting none of those royalties, where it used to be on TV when your show was in, picked up in distribution, you would get money from those shows on television. And now that the streaming services are forcing you to watch ads, going up on their subscription fees and all this type of stuff, they're still not paying their workers, their writers, their producers, any type of residual income. And so you can literally be making a multi-billion-dollar project and you will see none of that. So if you think about how when Tom Cruise was negotiating his contracts and he was getting some of the box office, the story, I forgot Jason's name, who was the black kid who sang in The Lion King, like how his mom negotiated that he would get the residuals. He's still to this day making money because he's in The Lion King in the early 1990s. That model has changed, and so with the advent of AI, they're just trying to cut people out and really get free and exploitative labor. That's why we say only anytime there's a billionaire, there's someone who has stolen money and resources from a worker. And that's why we're here.
100%. I mean, here it is. It says Squid Game increased Netflix value by almost $1 billion.
Oh, shit.
One show raised Netflix internal value by $900 million. And that, unfortunately, the creator of it, I want to say his name is Hwang Dong-yuk. He's Korean. Oh, that was cool. I'm looking at this dude. I don't know.
He said it.
Yes.
He doesn't know how to pronounce it either, so he's not going to make fun of you.
I didn't see the name.
He said that basically that he sold Squid Games to Netflix, and that Netflix finally picked up the show, but he forfeited all rights and royalties to Squid Games.
That's
so
wild.
Now Netflix not only owns all the royalties, they also own the rights to make an additional Squid Game, whatever, 1, 2, and 3. Right.
So
and maybe can bring him on as a writer, maybe cutting him off. I don't know.
It's just like selling your masters, man.
Right. Well, it was like, here's the creator, right? He just wants
to get
it to be seen.
Yeah.
He wants his show to be seen. And then realizing now afterwards, oh, wow, like it has all of these streams. It's the biggest show Netflix has had in the last 10 years, and none of those streaming residuals he gets anything for. And so definitely this is part of why unions are important, right? To protect workers, to ensure workers have rights, to ensure workers have breaks so they can live, right? To ensure, workers can get through this heat and have the proper equipment and everything. And so, and it was wild to see. I think it was the guy who runs Disney, Bob Iger.
Yeah.
Came out and said that the actors' demands were, I think what he called
unrealistic.
Yeah. While he makes $27 million a year, these are unrealistic terms. And there was another report where they said that the companies and these billionaires were just going to wait. They were waiting out the writer's strike until people lost apartments, lost homes, and basically that's evil, right?
But that's capitalism.
That's capitalism.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we're up against right now. We're up against billionaires, and oftentimes, we're paying more in taxes than billionaires. Like, the regular 99% of the people are upholding the whole economy of America, but these 1% of the people are getting more and more and more and more resources. And so I agree with you, Miracle. I'm all for the rest of the people organizing. It was one thing that came out and basically said, during the pandemic, that average working people lost $3.7 trillion
in
income. Yes.
Wow.
And that the billionaire class gained during the pandemic $3.9 trillion.
Oh, shit.
Right. And so we're watching this. And so at some point, regular people got to come together and say, nah, man, we ain't having it.
I think that's what's happening now with these strikes. Everybody's kind of organizing. You know what I mean? People
they should.
Yeah, absolutely.
I echo the call for a national strike.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need a national strike to reset our whole entire value system.
Here first. National strike.
We need a national strike. I think that we have forgotten why we support workers and why we need workers. And I think that there was an advent of a lot of corporations pushing anti-blackness to say that now that black people are getting some of these good jobs and these union jobs, now it's these jobs are elitist. You don't need these jobs. You don't need these union benefits.
We always catch the blowback and the blame and the fallout.
And as a result of that, now everyone is suffering. We talk about like the advent of AI, but most AI was what? It was black and brown people, the pictures, the models. And now that the AI is going to be replacing these writers and these creatives, there are whole entire shows coming out that's written completely by AI.
Absolutely.
And now that you're going to be replaced, now you see that AI was a threat. But when you thought it was just getting rid of
models,
black models or McDonald's workers, you were okay with that.
True.
When you thought it was making working class people suffer, you're okay with that. And now when you realize it comes for you, I always talk about the boomerang effect. People throw stuff out there thinking it's just anti-blackness and thinking that only black people will be harmed by these things. And they forget that boomerang comes right on
100%.
back and will cut them down too. And so I call for a national workers strike where we have a national workers referendum and we fight for the things that will make us safe. We should not be working 40 plus hours a week. It's still struggling.
True.
I think that they said most people have to work like 80 hours a week
Absolutely.
to like pay the rent, for a single bedroom apartment, and nobody is making that. Like all across, we travel all the time.
Yeah.
And housing is the biggest issue, even
everywhere.
Even now, upper middle class people are talking about they can't afford housing.
Right.
And so we really need a national strike.
That is a great point. You're absolutely right, particularly around AI. Like when it was just, you pulling up to McDonald's and typing in your order, it was cool, right? So I mean that is a fascinating point and a great point to make.
Yeah, I mean and like Miracle said, just to highlight just like the housing crisis right now, like interest rates, rents are jumping up astronomically high all over the country, even in like lower class areas. Like you have rents that are just unaffordable. Everything is just in a state of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just everything is fragile, everything's unaffordable.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's just like this delicate balance that if you're not like really just out here caked up, you're struggling.
Yeah, you're struggling.
Like it doesn't like you can be okay for a month, but next month you might be fucked up.
And then I've been talking to homeowners because I've been thinking about should I buy a home or not.
Yes.
And everybody's talking about not being able to afford their taxes. So even if they have the home, even if they own the home outright, because of all of the gentrification coming to their neighborhoods, they're not able to afford the taxes on their home. So now they're being evicted, from their homes. And a lot of this is particularly impacting elder communities.
100%, yeah.
So now, like, there is no more generational wealth because nobody can afford it.
Would there be a situation, or do we see a situation where you could organize even like for a national strike is something that I think it's been talked about. I know they've done something similar like in the Bay Area where they've just done a strike where it's like everybody don't work today. We've seen some of that. What would in terms of like, I know people are saying like boycotting streaming services with that because so many people rely on these services for like some type of entertainment.
Man, we couldn't boycott the NFL.
Y'all couldn't even boycott Kanye for 24 hours.
Come on. Hey, listen.
Looking at you for
like my thing is, I think it has to be gradual.
You don't
right?
have Kanye's on today. You don't have Yeezys.
Yeezys are coming back to Foot Locker. You see that?
They are, but no, when we literally asked people, we said, just don't listen to the record for the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because the first 24 hours is the most important. Y'all, hour 25, y'all can do it, and y'all say no. But I think it has to be incremental.
Yes.
So it has to be like Tuesdays at 2, don't watch any streaming services.
Yes.
For like 1 hour. I think we have to start building and like mobilizing, and that's what people forget. You have to organize people.
Yes.
You can't just call for a strike tomorrow. I don't think people are going to show
100%.
up. People have to build up to these things and get familiar with that. And I think that in the interim, billionaires are going to have to organize themselves and understand that literally, if they just help people live a good basic life, they could go about their billionaire yacht day. I don't know what billionaires do. Like, they wouldn't have to be worried about people eating them if they would just do right by folks.
But I thought they were organized. I thought that's what the Illuminati was. Wasn't that?
Right. Well, they got to come back and do that. Figure out how they're going to give back to the communities.
Yes.
And how they're not going to make people miserable in order to obtain and maintain their wealth.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, we're very close to that. That scene in Dark Knight Rises where people are just running up into wealthy people's homes. I mean, we're getting really close to that.
Ironically, that was filmed in Pittsburgh.
And so if we, again, like you said, I mean, it would be better for everybody to, again, like if you have $10 billion, maybe you just take $2
Come on.
and kind of redistribute that amongst
but
working
that sounds
class
too much
people.
like socialism. Can't do that.
I mean, again,
Can't have no communism.
The other scenario is we call the orcas, and then now now nobody can go on their yachts, right? We got the orcas ready. So there was also
Orchestrated violence.
We gotta organize.
We got to organize.
Yeah.
There was also an interesting back and forth that happened last week in Congress that sparked a debate. And it's always like a right versus left. Of course, it's America. And it was, we know what this congressman's name is? What's this guy's name?
It doesn't necessarily matter.
Okay, his name is Eli Crane.
That's like another comic book villain name.
Eli Crane definitely owned slaves.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Eli Crane. Eli Crane is a congressman from Arizona. And Eli Crane was speaking about an amendment that he was trying to put together. And I'm not going to say he misspoke. I think he spoke exactly how he wanted to say. Can you play that clip, Farouk, sir?
Arizona. Well, Mr. Chairman, though that was unbelievably inspiring, my amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve. Okay? It has nothing to do with
Mr. Speaker. Absolutely
any of that
not.
stuff. What we want to preserve and maintain is the fact that our military does not become a social experiment.
You can
we
pause
want
it
the
right there.
best of the best. We want to have
Who was the lady that stood up and was like, yo, censor that man? Colored people. We bringing it back.
Her name
We
is
are
Representative Joyce Betty from Columbus.
okay. Yeah, Joyce Betty shut it
Columbus,
down.
Ohio, yeah.
I think we
Large
met her.
judge.
Didn't
We
we?
did.
We
Yeah.
met Joyce when we was out there with Corey Bush.
I think she's the leader of the African American caucus.
Yeah. She jumped up to strike that from the record, but I guess, man, we're bringing colored people back. Is that the new?
And this is precisely why I don't like BIPOC. Like, I hate
What's BIPOC got to do with it though?
because it's BIPOC, black indigenous
It's
people
our
of
fault.
color. No, it's just another way to call us colored people. I don't like
BIPOC.
it. Yeah, BIPOC. It's just.
But isn't people of color?
But you're just
very
switching
different than colored.
No, because
people.
you're just switching a subject and predicate.
So you're saying
people of color is whack.
hold up, MAGA Muslim. What you're saying?
Call us people of the global majority.
Okay, but you're saying people of color and colored people are the same thing?
Absolutely, it's just a subject and a predicate switch. If you look at how it's phrased in a sentence,
Do you know the historical context?
He don't care.
Of colored people of that word.
yes, that's
Okay.
why I would prefer you call us people of the global majority.
But what I'm saying is, colored people, the word has an historical context.
Yes.
that is derogatory towards
Yes.
black people. People of color does not have that history.
it's to me, it's no different than saying.
But wouldn't that history be different? Correct?
People of color is a new saying.
Yes.
But it's
So
no
people
different
of
than
color
But how
is-
is that different than colored people?
The difference is colored people.
It's the same thing, bruv.
Well, it's people-centered language.
Not the same thing.
It's the same. No, it's just an underhanded way. It's a
Let me ask you
backhanded
a question.
compliment.
Let me ask you a question. Who came? So it was black people and other people of color that came up with the term people of color.
I am aware
and
of what you're
said-
saying. I'm saying I don't like that either.
Oh, okay, but you can't say it's the same. You can't say I'm aware that colored people has a
Yes, you
historical.
can, because you-
wait. That it has a derogatory history, particularly referring to black people.
Yes, absolutely.
As colored people,
Yes.
it has been.
But you're not nicing it up by switching it around.
Wait. Has been deemed derogatory, and that black people said that's not who we are.
Right.
Call us black people. Some people went on to say African American, but it was black people that said, no, we're not colored people, nigga. We're black. We want to be called black.
Right.
Similarly, people said you can call, if you're referring to more than black people, you can use the term people of color. That was a term that we said was acceptable.
And I still don't. Me personally, I don't like it.
Okay, so you can say you don't like it,
but to me,
what you can't say is
no. Yes,
you
I
can't
can
say it's the same thing.
Yes, I can, because it's still rooted in the same thing.
It's
like
not rooted in the same thing.
You could make the same argument from nigga and nigger.
It's not how.
Your exact definition, because black people said we don't want that. We want to be called this. We want to use this.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's absolutely the same thing. Because people
That's
are
your
color
best friend.
and colored
Miracle.
people.
It's not the same thing.
It is.
You're looking at it from a like, oh well.
I'm looking at how it makes me feel. Like, I don't like it.
Again, how it makes you feel is your. This is one thing to say, in my opinion. Right.
Okay, so in my opinion, it is the same thing.
Okay. And
in my opinion,
you share a similar opinion with right wing MAGA folks, because
I've never heard that before.
Because this is actually, well, when you go under the thing of this clip, that's all they said. The right wing MAGA folks said people of color and colored people are the same thing. Black people, like myself and Miracle in Trouble, we said. We said,
just like,
no,
what?
Colored people actually is not the same thing, because colored people was a word that was derogatorily used to black people historically.
I
so
understand
that's not
the context,
same thing.
but I still like
well, then again, I think if you understand it, you have to word it differently. You can say, hey, my opinion. You can say, these are my issues with people of color, and these are my issues with, and you talked about them on the show. You can say that, and you can share your issues of the term.
But
and you can share your issues with BIPOC. But to say people of color and colored people are the same thing is historically inaccurate.
I don't believe so, because it's just the same way of
history,
phrasing,
bro. You're going out like Moms at Liberty, bro.
No,
I'm gonna interject myself here,
bro. You can't ignore history.
I'm not trying to ignore history. What I'm saying is you're calling me something the same thing, just in a nice way.
No,
it's like a polite way.
No, it's not your call. It's not them calling you something. It's us saying this is an acceptable term that we will be able to use. Now, you could say, I don't like that term. But you can't ignore history. You can't say,
but I'm not ignoring the history.
You are.
No, I'm not.
If you're saying they're the same thing, you're ignoring the history.
But my dad was called colored his whole life. I get it. But like, I'm not. But that doesn't make it better to call me a person of color.
Again, what you're saying is how you personally feel.
Right.
And I validate your feelings as your employer.
And your best friend.
I'm just joking.
But no,
I don't want you to go on strike after this show.
No, I want to interject.
Let me just say one more thing, and then you can go. And I'm saying, like, your feelings are valid. Truly. You know what I'm saying? You've talked about, to me personally and on the show, you don't like BIPOC, you don't like people of color.
Right.
So I can understand you saying, I don't like that.
I just think it's lazy.
Okay.
I think it's very lazy.
My disagreement comes with you saying it's the same, because it's not. Because colored people has a history. Again, like you said, my mom fought.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
To be called black. And I remember my mom telling me about the struggle.
So you don't think that people
black.
of color is lazy then?
But what I'm saying is, I'm not. The argument is it the same thing as colored people? That it's not. It's not even close. That's all I'm saying. Now, I get with you saying, like, yo, you would rather be singled out, and like, I understand the argument. I'm gonna come to you, Miracle, about people of color, like, watering down. Black people have talked about this, watering down, BIPOC watering down.
It does. It absolutely dilutes
understand.
it.
Yes, I get that argument. I'm just saying the argument.
Okay, so then perhaps I phrased it wrong.
Correctly.
However,
yes,
you
don't like it.
I do not like it.
Got you.
Okay,
got you. All right.
So just for people,
we got a real argument, and we about to talk about Drake. We about to get busy.
Listen, just for people who don't understand, colored people
yes.
was a term used to particularly impact black people through the Jim Crow South. But through the United States of America,
Yes.
through laws that said that if you were a colored person, you could not have access to housing, to movie theaters, to
Yes.
hospitals. So if you look at water fountains,
Yes.
is the most infamous
Yes.
in American pictorial history of what for colored people meant. And so when we're talking about words and language, there's a whole movement of people-centered first language. So you hear people who are incarcerated, people living with disabilities, people who are disabled. There's a whole ongoing conversation about how do we talk about people who are not traditionally represented or thought of within this country and in this capitalistic society that we are in, because a lot of people do not like the term minorities because they feel that that
Correct.
is derogatory.
Yes.
So there's this whole conversation, and in this whole conversation has been going on for decades. So in 1977, there was the National Convention of Women who came together for to talk about the rights and the realities of women and what should equality look like for women across this country. And in 1977, they said, as women of color, we understand that we are not white women and we have a different struggle. It's a difference between feminist and womanist. So these are conversations that have been going on for decades. And so people are thinking about our lives are different, right? I don't have the same struggle as a black trans woman. I don't have the same struggle as an Asian woman, as a Jewish woman, as a Palestinian woman, as a Russian woman. All of our struggles are different. But because we are women, we have a similar struggle. But we have to think about, because in the United States that prioritizes whiteness and pushes white supremacy, if you are not white or white passing, you are treated differently in society, in the law, and just in the reality of this country. And so how do we talk about those similarities? Are we people of the global majority? Are we people of color?
Yeah.
Are we the not white collective? You know, shout out to Leona and the work that she's doing here in Pittsburgh.
Correct.
But there's an ongoing conversation that we're having because we understand that we have something in common through this oppression, simply because we are not white or white passing. And so, like, how do we phrase that? And a lot of us, we're still trying to figure it out. You have people saying, call white, don't say white, say European American or European, descendants.
Yeah. Caucasian, maybe.
All this type of, all this type of thing. And that's what we're feeling. And there are a lot of people just say black. They say black people,
Yes.
black issues, black thought, and allies of black people, accomplices of black people.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're not going to solve it, but we do know that when you say colored people, you're really going to a specific place in American history
Yes.
that said black people were not human, that black people did not have the same rights as other people, and that black people literally could be murdered, lynched, and killed
100%.
just for trying to have equality.
Yeah.
And so that, especially for older black people like Congresswoman Beatty, are not going to let that stand. And
Absolutely.
so there is a reason that people are having a tinge when they hear colored people.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know what the right phrasing is because it's going to be people to people, generation to generation. Trouble.
I'm gonna
I
just
have a question.
Okay, please.
A couple of questions.
Yes.
So my first question is in relation to people-centered language. Is people of color a result of that? So then my next question would be, if I'm understanding correctly, people of color is person-centered because instead of identifying people as their race, they're being identified as people first. All right. So if that is the case, why is black people not... Black people to me doesn't sound person-centered in a sense.
Yeah.
Because we're still centering our race before
Yeah.
personhood. So then that makes me side with
People
Farouk
of blackness.
and, like, how is colored people different from black people
Yes.
This is a great discussion.
So
Because maybe we're talking about people. We're talking about like black people and everyone else who's not black but not white. So not to talk about Afro-Latino, but like Hispanic people, Mexican people, Asian people, non-black Puerto Rican people, everybody who's not from like the western part of Europe.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about like the people of color.
Yeah.
But then you can say, you know, I'm Irish, I'm black, you know, I'm Boika, or what different things that people say. I'm people like I'm Yoruba. Like it's the whole. There's a whole like debate. Like a lot of how we say people are Nigerian, and they're like, no, I'm Igbo. And so it's a lot, and we don't know. It's just at the point of like chattel slavery fucked us up. Like absolutely. We don't really have a lineage, you know, outside of like the American horror of slavery that we can really just identify our stuff as, because that messed up the whole entire world. And then after slavery, we had the world wars where, again, European people decided to go bomb, you know, brown nations and destroy black and brown nations. And so now we're all trying to wrestle, what is this new identity that we have, because we've been impacted by imperialism, and how do we say this and build these broad coalitions?
Right.
And recognize that we have a different experience and we're impacted by white supremacy differently, but we're still impacted by it. And so how do we name that? And I think we're struggling. It's a struggle.
And I'll say, like, it's something that, like, you know, there's a whole conversation around Latinx, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember being at a conference, and a person I know that's Afro-Puerto Rican said, don't call me that. Right, you know, so and somebody from a Mexican
I've been
descent,
corrected on that also. Yeah,
somebody of Mexican descent might say, "Call me Chicano," right? Mm-hmm. So I think there is that conversation. I think the difference is right that like I may not like people of color. You might not even say black. You know, some people prefer to be called African Americans. You know, I know like the fight for black was that black was more of a universal. Use of language, right? So it didn't separate. It was like the all it encompassed all black people, right? Us and Africans. It was more, you know, black people in Brazil, right? It was more of a universal piece. But one thing I know that like black people isn't a slur. Like colored people is a slur, right? That's and it's historically meant to like put us down, and so that's the difference to it, right? Okay. So when you say like, and that's what I was, you know, that's what, you know, the debate between me and Farouk was. I get what he's saying, like in the English language, right? But colored has its history, and Miracle talked about it, of colored water fountains, colored people here. You know, there was this conversation around, if you ever seen the movie Hidden Figures, there's a scene where the woman has to go to the colored bathroom, and they actually said that wasn't true. That she was like, I use the white bathroom, I use the bathroom closest to me. But the fact that here's a black woman at NASA, and that it was like, no, these bathrooms are only for white people. The colored bathroom, and oftentimes what did colored mean? It meant substandard, right? It was the worst. We got the worst books, the worst schools, the worst of everything. It was of a different standard than the white individuals, right? And so I think that's the difference between colored. You know what I'm saying? But I understand like wanting to self-identify and self-describe yourself. And I also understand like I agree in many ways around the argument of people of color or BIPOC, right? Because it does begin to kind of like, oh, what does that mean and who qualifies? But I think we're figuring it out, right? Mm-hmm. I love that thinking of, okay, if black people isn't people-centered, what is, and what is that language? Yeah. To me, this is why I believe artists should be a part of these discussions, because we are creative and innovative. So I love that idea of thinking. So, you know, you wanted to follow up again?
Yeah, no, and again, it just, and I don't want to go back and beat a dead horse, but like, I feel like,
but to beat a dead horse,
but to keep,
but he's already dead, so let me kick this, but kick him in his head 2 or 3 times,
right? Yeah, no, I just like, I feel like people of color is just like very divisively and silently coded language to use colored people once again. Like when I hear it, I feel like it's just something that slid in there. It's almost like a dog whistle, and so I just like kind of feel like, okay, that was clever. Like you can't call me nigga, but you can call me something else.
You think it like that?
That's honestly how I feel about it.
I'll use people of color.
Yeah, and
often,
I mean,
and oftentimes people of color are used in professional spaces.
Because if colored is the slur in
right,
colored people, then what makes people of color different than colored people?
Yes.
If the color part is the slur.
Well, the slur isn't. It's not the word.
It's the action around it.
There you go.
It's the action around it. But and again, but you're still relegating me to something that's substandard or other. That's how I feel. Like you're still placing me. You're putting me in a box, but sprinkling on it. That's how I feel.
I think that's the reality.
You're trying to nice it up. That's why.
But that's why Justice Clarence Thomas said, in order to get over race, you got to stop talking about race. And there is
Did you want to do that?
No, but there is this tension though, because there are a lot of people. And I know, a lot of Black and brown people who I talk with. There is this exhaustion of, how do I show up in the world? How do I advocate for people? But then how do I just be myself? And sometimes people are like, I don't want to talk about race. I want to pretend like it doesn't exist just so I can have a breath or a moment. And we're in this conversation. When I talk to people who aren't from America, they're like, we have no concept of race how y'all have it in the States. Like we have, our communities, we have our identities, but we don't have.
I think France would have something to say about that, but continue.
But France hates Muslims, right? So France hates,
specifically North Africans and Muslims, but Black people also.
It's different. And so when they're trying to understand, like, how do you show up? They're like, maybe it's a regional thing. Like we have our regional pride. We don't have the same race. But I think that we have to have these conversations because, I think in the past 24 hours, it's been someone who has been of Asian descent and someone who is of Middle Eastern descent who's gotten so much clout on social media by pushing jokes about Black women. Right. And so I think we have to have a conversation about how people who are not white are replicating anti-Blackness and white supremacy. And we have to have language for that. But my last thing, because I know I'm being long-winded, is...
But you dropping knowledge, though.
Yes.
For social theorists and people who study human behavior, we have to identify phenomena. We have to have something where we're like, okay, we see this pattern of stuff. And so whether we're calling people transgender or whether we're calling people queer or people of color, we're labeling things that sometimes are just for... academic research. It's not necessarily for people to personally identify and label. And I think with 2020, we saw a lot of people take on words that they didn't understand and identities that they had no academic
there's no foundation
to it. Trying to be down,
and they misused it, right? So when we're talking about BIPOC, nobody really was going around saying I'm BIPOC.
Nobody.
I really don't I go around and say people of color. A lot of times I say Black and brown communities.
Me too.
Or different things. So I understand people pushing back, whether it's Latinx, Latin, Chicano. There are long legacies where people have used these words. But sometimes it's not meant for wide stream audiences.
I agree.
And I think that's a lot of times the pushback is we're trying to talk about things in our silos, in our communities, but because of social media and because there have been so many provocators, it gets watered down. And the very last thing I will say is at this 1977 conference, when these group of women said we're women of color and we're fighting for these planks to identify women, the Republicans said, no, you will not. And that's where the moral majority and the family matters and the focus on the family people were born out of. So they were born out of this movement to say we're going to push back against people of color because they're trying to unite these women across the world.
Absolutely.
And so that's always also, you have to remind, there's always a counter. Van Jones said a white lash. There's always a counter narrative or a counter culture to any time we try to progress. And that's also why we are having this issue around the words that we're using.
Would it be offensive to call this show Colored People Problems? Would it be?
I love that title. I love that title.
Of course you do.
I think we can.
No, but I think like my issue with people of color is oftentimes when it's used like Black people are last, right? People of color is introduced
again.
to me.
You're relegating me or you're separating me.
Well, oftentimes, and I think part of it is we've seen that in Pittsburgh, right? When it's people of color, it means that somebody that's not Black is speaking for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I start to have issues with it. However, speaking of a person of color,
I'm ready.
your favorite rapper,
I wouldn't say my favorite, but he's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah.
Drake.
We share the same country.
So Drake, and Drake is on tour right now, and Drake is probably financially the biggest rapper in the industry in terms of, and when I say financial, I mean what he makes for the music industry.
1000%.
He signed the biggest contract, or one of the biggest contracts in the history of the music industry. So to go back a little bit, Childish Gambino did a interview about the song "This Is America."
Yeah.
Remember when the song "This Is America" came out? That video hit the internet like a bomb, and the song exploded. It was everywhere. It birthed a million think pieces, right, of "This Is America." And so he did an interview, and he said, like, "This Is America" was initially going to be written to be a Drake diss. And Drake, being the super petty nigga that he is, or person of color, that basically in his show, he has a ticker on the show. Yeah. And it called "This Is America" the most overrated and over awarded song, like rap song in rap history. Right? So Ebro Darden, who hosts the morning show on Hot 97 and is at Apple Music. I mean, dude is a boss.
Who is also black and Jewish, which I think is very...
Oh, wow.
That's very good content. It's very important.
I didn't know that.
Very good content.
Black and Jewish crime, right?
Yeah.
Because Drake is black and Jewish.
He is black and Jewish, yes. He called Drake out for this.
Yeah.
He said, Drake, who has never shown up, and you know I'm the biggest Drake fan on the show, Drake has never shown up or had anything to say about anything going on in society with black folks other than himself. So he critiqued, he's like, okay, you're calling out "This Is America," this song that at a time, it was a lot of issues we wanted to discuss, and that Childish Gambino, who also didn't really have necessarily a history of being a conscious rapper or somebody in public. Right, the opposite, right, that has spoke, but he entered in, he talked about issues about America. And the song blew up. Here's Drake, who is that correct criticism for Drake?
So this is where I want to start with this. When Drake,
did you want to grab your cape from the corner? And
no, because I'm not. No, because I'm on Ebro's side.
Okay, got you.
No. I think Childish Gambino has been criticized specifically a lot from black women for him having this like revolution of consciousness, but having a white wife and only being interested in white women, and oftentimes dissing black women in this comedy and a lot of other things, right? I like the black girls of every single culture, right? That was his thing. He likes Filipinos, he likes Armenians. These are quotes from his records, even the paraphrase. And a lot of black women are like, you don't get to be conscious now, right? And I've seen this.
Unfair.
Well, I mean, but I've seen this because
he made his Childish Gambino came. Because he would make anti-black women jokes.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he would make
stand up
and stuff. That's what he was talking about.
And it was that was during his Sick Boy era. So that was very interesting to me. That
very 2011 Twitter.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. True. I got it.
So then here comes Drake. Who had a good bit of socially conscious content on his early projects as it pertained to black women.
Because he loved, like, Mos Def was his favorite artist.
Yeah, he did. And it was very akin to what Kanye was doing, like, with Selena Johnson, or at that time, like College Dropout Kanye.
Old Kanye. Not
old Kanye, right? And then so here comes Drake, who his target audience is primarily black women, right?
I don't agree with that.
I don't know.
Think that's his target audience?
I would say so.
I would think that's who he pitches to.
Yeah.
You're right. You all are right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But has he shown up in a space once to say anything for black women outside the center himself? Is whenever I do it, it's not black excellence.
I got to dance for you, right?
Well, Drake, he said in the record, I guess when I do it, it's not black excellence. So in relation, these are Drake quotes. So I'm on Ebro's side. I think you have a responsibility at this day and age, if your prime audience is black women, to show up at least a little bit and say something.
Yes.
Like, and offer something outside the fact that of these, like, quasi introspective lyrics and Instagram caption books.
Right.
Like, you have an obligation at this point. And I love Drake as a rapper. I love him as an entertainer.
Yes.
But And I also agree that we shouldn't be always turning to these entertainers for voices on social consciousness and politics.
Definitely not.
However,
except for us,
we are the caveat. If you put yourself in this position where, okay, I'm specifically centering myself around one group of marginalized people, yet I've never spoken up to uplift or anything about them except to draw lines about, covered this is a Megan Thee Stallion and Serena Williams, and these things like that. Now I gotta look at you like, bruv, what the fuck are you doing?
Do you have? And so again, it's interesting, right? And I want to come to you, Miracle.
And I think we should critique the people that we look up to,
absolutely,
and that we love. But at the same time, it's like this isn't 15, 20 years ago where you can just do the shit and just exist and not have a responsibility.
Well, I don't know. I mean, because it's funny because you're talking about on one hand somebody that like you said, Childish Gambino, Donnie Glover, that has a history of anti-blackness specifically directed at black women.
Yeah.
There's been critique of even how he's written black women characters, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yet he makes a song, a conscious song. That's one of his biggest songs. Does that negate all the other stuff? And here's Drake, who you're saying has made music centering black women or uplifting black women, but hasn't, it wasn't like we saw Drake around Breonna Taylor or any of these other issues.
And he's also been accused of tearing down black women.
True,
right?
So
True.
It's a very mixed bag.
And this,
right, because you mentioned
thing,
Megan Thee Stallion.
Right,
he dissed her on the album. You know what I'm saying?
And the final thing I'll say, and this isn't me saying this isn't me demonizing anybody that has said this to me, but black women I've had conversations with have also been like, well, Drake got a white woman pregnant. Drake has never had, you've never seen Drake with black women. You've always seen him with light-skinned women or white passing women. So his relationship to us is he only uses us for fuel for his, and this is again, this isn't for
the reverse Kendrick.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I think
I do believe it calls criticism.
I think Drake, again, he's a Canadian rapper who was raised.
Talk about that.
No.
Talk about that, Miracle.
No, he's a Canadian rapper who was raised by a white Jewish woman. His black Memphis dad was absent, right?
Who didn't understand the history of words like color. Come on, Miracle.
No.
Don't say don't do that. No, that's not fair.
That's a joke.
Hold on.
That was a joke.
So I think that Drake has shown someone who has been trying to be in the black crowd.
Yes.
When he first came out, people were saying he wasn't black enough. He wasn't going hard enough.
Yes.
He was an actor and he was, put up to take over hip hop simply because he was black and Jewish. So there's all of this hate that he got. But
he did.
For me, Drake is someone who tries to be black politically adjacent. So think about his
that's
music.
Beautiful.
So I forgot, I want to say it was not the Call God, but the video had A.B. and he was running around. He's giving black people money. God's plan. Yeah. He'll talk about black issues, but a lot of times when he talks about, I forgot the song when he was talking about, the police are killing us. Now you want to have a problem with me. He doesn't really go hard for social issues.
Never.
But he talks about how they impact his life.
Absolutely.
And how sometimes black people are a threat to him.
Yeah.
Now Drake has gotten under fire for the way he treated Johnny Blaze. I really forgot the other two black strippers from Houston, Mariah and somebody else. He retired. He retired her, and she was like, "But I can't work, and you're not giving me any money." He has had a very contentious issue with black women because he sexualizes black women. Will have sex with black women. Georgia Smith, all of this stuff, but doesn't really put roots with the black women. We'll pursue Rihanna and Nicki Minaj as a joke and maybe disrespect their relationships.
Yes.
But he's rooted with white women and invest and so but he hires black women. He has black women working on his projects, and so it's a tension there. But I think
no pun intended, mixed bag.
I think Drake is someone but I think Drake is someone who wants to have an identity, but can't have it in black American politics because he's not a black American. And he's someone who loves just black art and black people all over the world. So, you know, he does the patois. Like he reinvents himself.
Goes to London and does all of that.
But he
stuff.
always reinvents himself as someone a part of the black diaspora.
Does Afro beats now, like whatever is hot.
He could have gone pop. He could have gone country. He could have done, you know, tech stuff and techno stuff. He's rooted in like blackness, and so I don't expect more from him. I would like him to do more. You know, I would like him to give more uplift. But he's been with Colin Kaepernick. He's done, I think, as much as he maybe knows how to politically, but he is able to do more and doesn't.
And again, I'm not expecting Drake to come out like Chuck D or Kendrick Lamar. Like, that's not what I expect of Drake. I just expect a little bit more.
I think,
and I don't think that's asking too much of him as an artist, because he's produced such great music, and he's done, like, you know, like Miracle said, he has hired black women, and he has brought attention to black women. Specifically, I remember it was like Issa said on Insecure, us black women to go to college, like, she was like, the joke was Drake just gets us. And I can't remember the setup, but the punchline was Drake just gets us.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, but where is the substance to that?
Right.
And that's just what I would expect as, like, you know, and I understand that, like, you know, Push called a lot of things out about Drake that I think people have been saying for a long time.
And also Push put up
the identity crisis.
The picture of him with it in blackface.
But I don't excuse that as the quote unquote class or the tragic mulatto story.
Right.
Like, I hate that trope, and I think that, like, Drake can't hide behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think too. You've been in America for the last 20 years. Like,
I mean, and you proudly said, like, you know, like, Memphis is your home.
Yeah, you know what's going on, right? So I think at that point, it would be, you know, it would to basically ignore, like you said, if Memphis is your home, how are you representing for those people other than like taking their swag so you can make more hundreds of millions of dollars?
The symbolism over substance is rife within this conversation.
So to me, I agree with you. I think if you're going to go around the world and take people's swag, right, you do have a responsibility to those communities, particularly when the majority of the communities whose music that you're, you know, and you could say honoring or you could say taking, however you look at it, they're suffering. I'm saying they're suffering and they're never able to reach the heights that you are. So how are you giving back? In what ways are you giving back? In what ways are you representing? I think that is definitely legitimate criticism. Trouble?
I want to add to the convo how I agree with Ebro. One, because it's like a stay in your lane type of conversation, right?
Yes.
It's like, This Is America isn't a Drake diss anymore. It's a conscious record.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to venture over and start criticizing conscious records, then you've entered a lane where now that criticism has to be well-rounded.
100%.
It has to come back to yourself.
Yes, that boomerang Miracle was talking about.
You know what I'm saying? It can't just be, I'm going to diss Childish Gambino's record because originally it was going to be dissing me. It's like, well, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So now we have to talk about real things. Now there has to be substance behind your criticism.
You could argue it's the most impactful music video in the last 10 years.
Yes, precisely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that might maybe even longer.
Yeah.
And I think what Drake could have done was not making it This Is Canada, but also just talk about like some of
that incredible.
No, but like talk about some of the racial violence that's happening in Canada.
Absolutely.
Talking about the plight of the indigenous women in Canada.
1,000%.
I think he could have responded in a conscientious way.
Absolutely.
And I keep saying, like, nobody has been following Tupac's blueprint of like how to come back.
Right.
Because when people were coming after Tupac went like super black and was like, your Brenda had a baby, all this type of stuff. Nobody has been making that type of music.
True.
On it, like local people, like I'm saying, people who are named and have like fame and acclaim. Nobody has been making. Nobody has been making that type of music on like a national scale, and it's very weird to me. Like Childish was like really the first one. Like him and Joyner Lucas. Were kind of the first people to be like, okay, I have this following. Let me make this.
And I would say both of them didn't do that.
It wasn't that great.
Very surfacey. Very people of colory.
It was. I was like,
Well, you know what it is? Miracle's probably because they're not one of the most influential, outspoken civil rights leaders of our time, like the legendary Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying?
Why are all our greats conservatives? I don't get it.
Well, Ice Cube would say he wasn't, but Robert F. Kennedy, for those that don't, of course, Robert F. Kennedy has said
The worst Kennedy.
why
The worst Kennedy.
I just don't get it.
the top 50 Kennedy, he's 50. He's dead last. And it's wild. He came out and said anti-Semitic, anti-black statements recently around COVID, but he took a picture with Ice Cube,
And guess who defended that picture?
and he who Ice Cube?
No, guess who defended the picture of RFK and Ice Cube?
Who?
Killer Mike.
I mean, again, it's a picture, right?
Yeah.
And what Killer Mike said was a picture doesn't mean an endorsement, but It was just that Robert F. Kennedy's own tweet said he spent a wonderful evening with one of our country's most influential and outspoken civil rights leaders. He called Ice Cube a civil rights leader. Like, is he that out of touch? Like,
I mean, Ice Cube did do fuck the police. He did, niggas with attitudes. He did was bigging up Farrakhan.
That would be a great question to say, did you mean fuck the police? Like, What did you mean by civil rights leaders? What civil rights has Ice Cube gained for black people? Miracle, can you tell us?
The nigga you love to hate.
We gotta organize these old school rappers. Because I would really.
Are you gonna do that, Miracle?
No, because that's not my ministry. Black men, y'all gotta save yourselves. But I think that Killer Mike and Ice Cube really could be out there using their platform again to advocate for issues. Funding for black businesses, training, workforce development. I again would say Ice Cube, Killer Mike, put a platform together to get black men their gun rights back. Right. We need a universal forgiveness of black men to get their gun rights back.
That's a great piece.
Things that they could be doing, but no.
Yeah, it's interesting because is this, we started with kind of coming back around. Is this the case of, both, when you look at Killer Mike and Ice Cube, you're talking about both multi-million-dollar individuals, and so they're multi-millionaires, they're business owners, and so they're land owners, right? Killer Mike's on his new album talked about being a landlord, like I'm a landlord. So like now when you're the landlord and you're the business owner and you're a multi-millionaire and you're in a different dude, now you have maybe a different take on what it takes to get there, or take on, you're not down here with us anymore. Like frontline, regular, everyday black people. You're not you're not going to you're going to whatever nice, restaurant or nice place to shop. You're not struggling with black people. Could that be why?
Maybe, and then that's when you rebrand as your black capitalist self, and don't sit there and say, I'm here for the working class.
True.
Because your reality has changed and your worldview has changed. And I think that a lot of these rappers do not know how to say, you know what, that person who was grinding, I'm not that person. I got it now. And so my politics has changed. And I think that they should, because people are looking at them to advocate for working class black people, and they're advocating for policies that aren't going to help them.
Yeah, I mean, I know Ice Cube is doing a thing right now. Maybe we can invite him. Did you reach out on Twitter and invite Ice Cube?
I did not. You should. That you have connections.
I don't have connections to
I
Ice
reached
Cube.
out to Gucci and he didn't respond back. That's the person.
We had reached out to Killer Mike. Was it last year?
Yeah.
It was last year. He declined. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, we weren't able to make that happen.
And I will tell all these people, if I'm the issue we're declining, I will gladly remove myself from the interview table and let y'all men have a conversation. That is fine. You can make that request.
There was way more white supremacy we had to get to, but we're going to get to our book.
Yes.
Our white pages.
And I think this is very apt, that considering the air quality issues that we've been having nationwide. So Toxic Communities, Environmental Racism, Industrial Pollution, and Residential Mobility by Dorcetta E. Taylor. And this is particularly important for Pittsburgh, as we often have the worst air quality in the country, specifically located in Braddock, Pennsylvania, where they are bogged down and just assaulted by environmental racism. Everywhere you go in that area is very difficult to breathe because all the steel issues and all the pollution. So that is our white pages right
and how about that? We watched a miracle, like for the first time. Farouk actually read on the show. And if you're in Pittsburgh this week, Friday, we're back at Liberty Green with our Fridays on Deck is returning. We're going to have food trucks, ice cream trucks, activities for young people. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. So catch us at Liberty Green this Friday. And with that being said, any final comments?
Let's get out of here.
Turn up. Shout out to my people who are protesting at Netroots.
Oh, yeah.
Made a statement.
Yes.
You know, push, good trouble.
Yeah, good trouble. Trouble? Going back on vacation.
Never lose sight.
Come on, never lose sight. Peace. See y'all next week. One Hood.